There's a lot of good exercises that I would use on a regular basis where you figuratively just get in, get out. You can imagine ankle mobility on the wall where you got a couple inches off the wall, hopefully it's 4 to 5, and you touch the wall every time. You get there and you get out. You get there and you keep your heel down, you keep the foot straight, short foot, etc., etc. Lots of really good things that you can move in 3 planes where you're stepping in different directions, you're reaching, yeah, etc., etc. But you get there and then you get out. You get there and get out. And I think that is a really good thing to do. But if indeed there is more motion, aka mobility, was gained when you post-test, I don't think it was because you actually created adaptations for mobility. I don't think that's actually possible by getting in and getting out. Time under tension is not established. And now here's why that's important. Let's say you do the wall drill or step and rotate and you hold and you create lots of isometric tension in different directions in that hold. Well, that's what stimulates Lysyl Oxidase, which is probably the first major domino to drop as you try to train or develop connective tissue. It's that heavy tension that then further decreases partial pressure of oxygen, which is the trigger for the brain to transcribe alpha-pro-1 collagen. Now, that might be a fancy way of saying how do you develop scar tissue. But if you're controlling the motion in which the scar tissue is developed, that would be a great way to somehow support putting collagen where you want it, or the direction of collagenous tubules. Now, when you have an increase in collagen and the movement then is improved, there's a proprioceptive impact. The brain recognizes that there's more elements that would prevent motion in other directions. It almost constrains the motion, and that's where the brain senses it, and there's this mechanical impact that allows this deeper exposition of mobility. Here's the thing. If that actually worked, the joint always had the motion to begin with. It is impossible to create joint motion by getting in and getting out. You could figuratively swish around some synovial fluid, which has a great long-term preservatory impact. It's not that those exercises are wrong, but even when we say ankle mobility on the wall, I'm not sure you're actually creating any adaptations for mobility unless you do one and hold with a significant amount of tension. I think those are different things. Now, does that really matter? If it's such a good thing to do, Charlie, what's the point? Well, the point is that there's a lot of people that would say you only need to do things that get in and get out, and then there are attributed to certain adaptations. It's not that it's a bad thing to do, but I do think there's a line that's probably crossed if we're teaching people to do something, whether as a coach rationalizing it to an athlete or a client, or learning it from a commercial model. If it's factually incorrect, I think that's an issue. Now, you may not worry about it if you go there just to put more keys on the key ring, and I see how that works, even though it's not what's purported. I think there's a lot of things like that in education, continuing education, where you can kind of be better than the message that's being given, especially if it is inconsistent with the laws of biology and physics. Getting in and getting out, as far as creating mobility, that can't happen. You actually have to hold and develop the tissue over time. Even one session, even if it's a proper parameters, probably isn't enough. And if we are going to develop new tissue, there is certainly a nutrition or supplementation strategy that comes along with that as well. So if we do something else, even though we're creating the stimulus to create connective tissue, there's a next step. These new things don't come from nowhere. We need the raw materials and the stimulative effect, just like for our muscles to get bigger and stronger. We need things to build that. So not only is it selecting the correct stimulative environment to go along with what we think is happening, is that are we coming on the back end as well? So it doesn't mean these things are bad, but sometimes it helps to do these little mental gymnastics to further establish, now I see why this didn't work for what I wanted it to do. It didn't mean it was bad.